Nowadays, we are facing several problems in the world, especially in Ukraine, Middle East, and related to the war issues, problems between neighbors, nations. We are seeing that the international law is not working very well. What do you think about this matter?
Putin doesn't want peace. He wants war because regimes like in Russia, in Azerbaijan, they survive because of wars. Every time when a Russian president has low ratings in his country, he starts war.
We are seeing that Karabakh was only the beginning for Mr. Aliyev's regime, and he's also talking about some parts of Armenia. We are far away from peace, or is there any chance for a peace between Azerbaijan and Armenia?
Armenian diaspora has huge technological potential, especially in the West. We have many successful diaspora members in economy, in business. They have very good relations with high-level politicians, especially in United States. They can share their ideas, not only money.
Ideas are more than money, I think.
Of course, ideas about weapons, about economy. We don't have this. We don't have high technologies.
Hello, dear Arevelk followers. We have a special interview today. My guest is Lilith Dallakyan. I want to remind you that Lilith Dallakyan is a very well-known name in Armenia. She's an analyst. She writes and talks about South Caucasus issues and issues related to Armenia and the Armenian nation. Thank you, Lilith, for joining us.
Thank you too, and thank you for your invitation.
Lilith, nowadays we are facing several problems in the world, especially in Ukraine, Middle East, and related to the war issues, problems between neighbors, nations. We are seeing that the international law is not working very well.
Yes.
What do you think about this matter?
Of course, today we are observing a situation where international law, as you have mentioned, and international order is not working. We can point two main things. First, United Nations as the main body of the international law implementation. It is not working. For example, in Ukraine, we have a matter when Russia is aggressor and it has attacked its neighboring country, Ukraine. And when the United Nations starting to hear this case, especially in the United Nations Security Council, Russia, which is a permanent member of Security Council, put veto on the resolutions which condemn Russia for invading Ukraine. And there is no point to override this veto, and so this is the collapse of the work of the United Nations.
It's not working.
It's not
definitely.
working, yes. Another matter, for example, Azerbaijan attacked Armenian territory, and it was hearing in 2023 in the United Nations Security Council, after which the resolution was not adopted because of the Chinese veto, and so on. We can continue. Another global issue, I think, is not respecting the main points of international law. This is territorial integrity and territorial sovereignty. So a country which is stronger than its neighboring country can attack it. And nowadays, especially in United States administration, new administration, there is a vision that use of force is normal. Trying
to solve issues by power is normal, huh?
Especially, and for example, President Donald Trump, what he is saying, he says Russia is great power, it is very strong. Russia is stronger than Ukraine, so we should respect Russia. What is this? We have aggressor and the victim of aggression. Or Trump says, I can put sanctions either on Ukraine or on Russia. This is not normal because, again, we have aggressor and victim of aggression. Again, concerning Armenia and Azerbaijan, every time when there is a violation of ceasefire regime, international actors, what are they saying? We call both sides to refrain for using force. But this is Azerbaijan that is using force. So we can say now that, yes, international law, international order is not working. And this is very abnormal and very bad for Armenia. Why? Because Azerbaijan is now stronger. We understand this. Turkey is much more stronger than Armenia. So they can attack Armenian territory. It's normal.
In this logic, it's normal.
Yes. And unfortunately, in Armenia, there are many political scientists, politicians, which say it is not our job, Ukraine. Why we are talking about Ukraine? No, it is our job, because if we justify this, what is happening now in Ukraine, so it is also normal referring our territory, referring the South Caucasus. And the actions of Vladimir Putin is very similar with the actions of Ilham Aliyev. So this is question of Armenian national security and national interest, not only about Ukraine, Ukrainian people. So that's why my vision is that nowadays, yes, force is very important, but force should be combined with international law, because small countries, they cannot survive in this world where use of force is normal, where if you are stronger, you can attack. So more than 100 members of UN, which are small countries, will not survive in this logic.
Dear Lilith, you know I come from Middle East and we used to live with wars. But the new page in this era, especially related to this part of world, was the issue of Ukraine and Russia. Especially after the election of Donald Trump as a president of USA, lots of people were talking that the problem will be solved and new measures, but we are not seeing anything. And we are hearing more than that, that USA is tired of this issue, especially Mr. Trump declared more than a time that USA, look, we tried our best and now we are fed up. We will let you either to continue the war and so we are in a deep problem, because this problem is not like the Arab-Israeli problem. It's more than that. It's related to Europe. It's related to Armenia. What do you think about these issues?
I also didn't think that the agreement between Ukraine and Russia is possible, especially during...
It's not.
Yes, of course not, because Putin doesn't want peace. He wants war, because regimes like in Russia, in Azerbaijan, they survive because of wars. Every time when a Russian president has ratings, low ratings in his country, he starts war. War in Donbass, war in Crimea, war in Georgia, war in Syria. So this is vital for the survival of such regimes. In North Korea, in Iran, also, I will mention, in Libya and so on. And Donald Trump, I think his vision was that China and Russia should not be allies. And during his interview to Fox News, he said that I don't want Russia to become closer to China. And that's why his policy, I am not thinking about that he is a Kremlin spy, he likes Putin or he loves Putin. I don't measure things in politics like that. I only think that Trump had that vision before. I think now he understood everything, that if he will be friendly with a Russian president, he will not move closer Russia to China. But this is impossible. Why? Two points. First, after 2022, Russia became more dependent from China, from Chinese economy. Why? Because of the sanctions. Because Western countries put sanctions on Russian economy, Russian markets. They don't have foreign currency as dollar. Yuan is their foreign currency. And the Russian word импортозамещение, Vladimir Putin's word, it is directed to China. Russia doesn't produce anything.
The target was China.
The target was China. Russia supplies oil, gas, firstly to China. So China is vital for them in economy. Second, in the Central Asia, China is very big player, especially in the post-Soviet countries like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Turkmenistan, and so on, which have natural resources. So Russia doesn't want and can't compete with China in this region, but he also cannot withdraw itself from these regions. So if you remember when Putin allowed Russian army go to Kazakhstan, what had happened? After Chinese call, and maybe Turkish president's call, he withdrew himself from Kazakhstan. So Chinese and also Turkish influence in this region is very big.
Mm-hmm. And becoming bigger.
And becoming bigger. And also, if you remember, China considers some Russian territories in the Far East its own territories, Chinese territories. After 18th century, China says that Russian Empire took these territories from China. So China is not an ally of Russia. It is also very how to say, not enemy, but rival for Russia also. They are together against the West, but they have also their problems. So it is impossible for me to think that we can move Russia far away from China. So now I think Donald Trump understood this, and also we should speak about his ratings. They are historically low, the lowest ratings that U.S. president has after 100 days of his presidency. Mm-hmm. So the United States is a democratic country. You cannot look and say, "Oh, I will do everything that I want." People of United States, they vote.
They are not toys.
Yes, of course, they have opinion, and United States presidents can face impeachment, can face serious problems. He cannot play the game as he wants.
And we are seeing that not everything he says he's doing it.
Of course, especially concerning tariffs and concerning wars in Middle East, as you have mentioned, in Ukraine, also in South Caucasus, concerning Iran, North Korea. So he didn't have anything now to show to Democrats, to show to the Congress. That's why I think also he is disappointed by Vladimir Putin, because Vladimir Putin could give him some, how to say, a weapon, yes, to show to the Congress, to Democrats that I have reached something during 100 days, but not. And this weapon to Donald Trump gave Zelensky after signing natural agreement with him, and he showed it. So now he says that, yes, I will put sanctions, but important for me is will he sell weapons to Ukraine, and will he continue intelligence sharing with Ukraine? It is vital. And Vladimir Zelensky tells that we will buy the weapons, don't give us for free.
We can put money and buy.
We can put money, and Europe will help us. So now Donald Trump cannot say, no, I will not sell you weapons, because he's always speaking about deals.
Yes, deals and money.
Deals and money. And the situation in the front line is very fragile. So Russia cannot move. That's why Russian missiles are killing people, innocent
people.
Yes, and if Ukraine will have weapons, the situation in the front line will be changed, of course. So
you are not seeing any peace chance over there?
No. And very big question is, you look, Vladimir Putin is saying thank you to North Korean soldiers for freeing Kursk region after 1 year. You understand? The biggest army in the world cannot compete with Ukrainian army, which is 4 or 5 times smaller. Weapon comparison is very big. And they cannot fight with Ukraine, and they fight with Ukraine with North Korean soldiers. So this is also very important for Armenia. Why? Because there are some political scientists or politicians here, and they say Russia will defend us against Turkey and Azerbaijan.
No,
how?
It's a dream.
It's a dream. They cannot defend their own territory. They will compete with...
They are facing problems.
Of course. They will compete with the second largest army of NATO, with Turkey.
For instance, today they cancelled all the flights because of the parade of tomorrow.
Yes.
Anyway, let's talk about the Armenian issues. Lilith, after the big war of Karabakh, everybody was thinking that we are entering really a peace era because the problem was, in quotation, Nagorno-Karabakh. But we were seeing that Karabakh was only the beginning for Mr. Aliyev's regime, and he's also talking about some parts of Armenia. He wants more and more, and as you said, related to the international community, he's seeing that I have the power, I can do anything.
Yes.
We are far away from peace, or is there any chance for a peace between Azerbaijan and Armenia?
I every time stress that the situation in South Caucasus is dependent on the international situation, because in my opinion 2020 was started not because of the decision of only Aliyev and Azerbaijan.
You also always mention this, it's very important.
Yes, but because of Turkey's decision and Vladimir Putin's main partner. Yes, personally. And they don't hide that. In fact, if you see. So this depends on the situation of Russia in Ukraine. That's why we are speaking about Ukraine concerning Armenia and Azerbaijani relations. So every time we see that Mr. Aliyev put on the table a new precondition for signing peace agreement. Because, as we have mentioned, these regimes doesn't want peace. Second, there are another global actors in this situation. Azerbaijan cannot sign unilaterally peace agreement. There is Russia, there is Turkey, so he must understand the decision of Vladimir Putin in this situation. But as far as Russia can't compete and can't conquer Ukraine with Ukraine, so Aliyev will not start, I think, a great war because he needs protection of Russia and agreement of Russia. But if Russia will have some serious gainings in Ukraine, so they together will come to take what they want, Zangezur corridor, as they call. Why? Because Russia wants to have a land corridor with Turkey, because Russia wants to control transport routes in South Caucasus and new transport routes from east, from China, from India. So it is vital for Russia to have this corridor and to control this corridor. So that's why they are allies in this situation. And Armenian Prime Minister was thinking that after closing the page of Nagorno-Karabakh, as you have mentioned, the peace will come. But no, yes, I agree that it was only a part of the conflict because Nagorno-Karabakh question is not closed. This question is not decided by Armenia or Azerbaijan. This is an issue of self-determination. And if even Russian Prime Minister recognizes Nagorno-Karabakh as part of Azerbaijan, self-determination principle is working. Like in Kosovo, for example. That's why Azerbaijani's leader every time is speaking about OSCE, Minsk Group, and so on. He understands that by using force, the question is not closed. And also, what was my suggestion to Armenian Prime Minister, that don't close this page, because it is, sorry to say this, a card, as Trump says, against Azerbaijani leader, which is speaking about Western Azerbaijan community. So this is a strong card against Azerbaijani's leader. But also I want to mention that we should speak about peace, but we will have strong army. We should have strong army. We should reorganize our army according to NATO principles. We should have new weapons, new technologies. We should not only buy technologies, we should also produce weapons. Like Azerbaijan, if Azeris can produce weapons, our scientists which produce weapons in the United States and in Russia can do this, of course. And we should reorganize our army. This must not be the Soviet army which is defeated now in Ukraine. This should be NATO standards army. Azerbaijanis and Turkish army, which can compete with us now. We should not speak about peace, very usual, because it makes us more targeted and more weaker in the international arena. When Aliyev is speaking about constitutional reforms, we should also say that you should change your constitution. Because in that constitution, parts of Armenia are called parts of Azerbaijan, not only Armenia, Georgia, Iran, and so on. So concerning May 9 parrot participation, if you allow me to answer also to this question, because nowadays in Armenia people are speaking about this and they are condemning Pashinyan for going to Moscow. What is my opinion? After Aliyev rejected to participate, yes, in this parade, and Azeris soldiers, Azerbaijanis, will march in red
with the army,
yes, which
taking part
in Artsakh war second. So, and Nikol Pashinyan will stand there. Yes, I think it's not acceptable. And also, but yesterday Nikol Pashinyan says that I'm going to Moscow. So if he already had this decision, what is my suggestion? Armenian Prime Minister should write a letter to Zelensky and to Ukrainian people and stressing the importance of their participation against defeating Nazis, fascism, and
being part of that victory.
Being part, of course. And this will reduce, how to say, the anger or bad attitude towards Armenia in the West. And also he can raise the question of war prisoners in Azerbaijan, and it is May 9. This is a victory day, and Russian president is always talking about November 9 agreement. So this is the 8th point of November 9, number 8 point of November 9 agreement. So why you don't implement this agreement? Especially, this is also a requirement of Geneva Convention concerning war prisoners. So every time when you go to Moscow, it's not good. It is not good for our relations with EU.
It's not healthy, huh?
Yes, it's not healthy. And what is curious that every leader wanted to become ill or damaged, not to go to stand with Vladimir Putin. So he is very toxic today. But if Armenian Prime Minister cannot stay in Armenia to commemorate the victims, and there are some, I don't know, interests to go to Moscow, he should raise questions and also, of course, commemorate the victims of Ukraine and to write a letter to Mr. Zelensky.
Lilith, I really appreciate the idea that you mentioned here is that for the Armenian people and Armenia, the most important now is not arguing, is working hard with the army. And as if I talk about the Armenian nation, I cannot forget diaspora, because nowadays, even that when we were young, we think that the Armenian nation will be united during problems. We have faced the Nagorno-Karabakh issue. It was a very sad, a very bad page of our history, but it's not the end. We are facing now, we are seeing that Armenia as a state and diaspora, the relationship is not healthy, is not that good. What do you think about this issue? There are any keys to work about it? And because, you know, our diaspora is very huge. Sometimes when I write articles, I really mention that our petrol, our gold, our uranium is diaspora.
Yes. I also think that that we don't have natural resources, oil, gas, and so on, but we have another huge force. Armenian diaspora is one of the strongest diasporas, especially in the United States. There are Irish, Jewish, and Armenian diaspora. But you know, nowadays previous powers of Armenia, presidents, they always mentioned that during their period, the relations with diaspora were excellent. But not. Let's speak about about this issue because I also was working in the Ministry of Diaspora, and every time our diaspora compatriots, we thought about them as, how to say, kind father, kind grandfather, give us money,
smiling, and
yes, please give us money, give us investment, make investments in Armenia, and we didn't give anything them in exchange. So this was one-way relation. And everything was concluded in cheers during some banquets.
Good wine,
yes,
and good Armenian food.
Yes, to have great Armenia, so on, but we didn't do anything for that. Because the regime was corrupted, because why diaspora members didn't invest in Armenia largely? Because the regime was corrupted, they have some percent in everything, everybody knows that, and the diaspora members didn't want to invest in this atmosphere economic. So, and for example, Party Dashnaktsutyun here, they are suggesting the question of Artsakh and genocide as their own question. Only Dashnaktsutyun. Every time on 24 April, they burn flags and nothing. And nothing. They are doing nothing here. They are corrupted. During parliamentary elections, they only have 4 or 5%, more than 30 years in parliament.
It's not growing.
It's not growing. And we are not talking about simple members of Dashnaktsutyun abroad and here. We are talking about high-level members, which are very corrupted, which are always together with Robert Kocharian or Ser Sargsyan. Why? They are not criticizing them for their false policy, and they were speaking about Artsakh. But when after 1244 resolution concerning Kosovo, Armenia could appeal to the International Court of Justice as precedent for Artsakh, they didn't do that. They recognize Abkhazia, Ossetia, Donbass, and so on, these separatist regimes, especially president of Artsakh. But they didn't recognize Kosovo, which is like Nagorno-Karabakh concerning ethnic cleansing. And you can say to the West, oh, you recognize Kosovo. This is a UN resolution decision that territorial integrity and self-determination don't contradict each other. So they didn't do anything. Or concerning genocide, we have high-level lobbying members who lobby for Russia. Sometimes when I read the articles, especially from United States, I think that they are Kremlin scientists, political scientists, because they never criticize Russia. Or when Biden recognized Armenian genocide, here some members of Dashnaktsutyun and our second president, they criticized Joe Biden for doing this, saying it's not time, because Putin didn't like that. Russia and Turkey became closer, that's why you recognize genocide. So even the issue of genocide is not important for them. This is only political tool to survive. And nowadays, Armenian Prime Minister also, I don't understand his view concerning diaspora. He says, oh, you live there, don't speak about Armenia, don't
interrupt, don't have
interfere,
idea.
In our Armenian job, but when there is a war, you should come, you should pay money, you should fight, you should help, you should make rallies abroad. This is not normal. Armenian, what is my vision? Armenian diaspora has huge technological potential, especially in the West, because we have many successful diaspora members in economy, in business. They have very good relations with high-level politicians, especially in United States, and they can share their ideas, not only money.
Ideas are more than money, I think.
Of course, ideas about weapons, about economy. We don't have this. We don't have high technologies. Why we can do this? And this is about network diaspora. Because nowadays, diaspora members, they compete with each other. Even when I was in the United States, some party members, they hate another party members. Armenians hate each other. They don't hate Turkish people.
Inner hatred.
Yes. We don't need to hate anybody, not Azeris, not Turkish. They are our enemies. But they compete with each other. in Armenian community.
It's not healthy.
It's not healthy, and we are divided, and this is used by our enemies, by Turkey, by Russia, by Azeris.
They are saying, look, you have issues inside your nations, what you are talking about.
Of course, and Jewish lobby, it is very useful for Israel because they are like state in the state. They act together.
They don't act against the state.
Of course,
like us.
Of course, like in Iran, you saw what has happened.
Yes, in Iran, in Los Angeles,
yes.
in Paris.
And every time the name is Dashnaktsutun. Again, I am not talking about simple members of Dashnaktsutun. We have great patriots there also. But high-level decision-making members, they are very corrupted and they have suspected links, I think, with Russian, with KGB. So we should, and we should also make atmosphere very healthy economic, to make investments from, to gain investment, trust. Yes, to build trust. And if diaspora members understand that this is also their homeland, because nowadays the new generation, they don't have any connection. They don't feel any connection.
And they are tired. We are seeing that young people are tired from these issues. They want to work hard for Armenia, but without hatred, to work with everybody and in open mind.
Of course, not only genocide and Artsakh is our issue. Yes, it is also our issue, but not only we survive because of this.
We have this state and we have to do everything to keep this state and to make it a strong, a modern state.
If we are not stronger, we cannot speak about genocide and about Artsakh.
Nobody will hear us.
Nobody. And also, diaspora is very huge, tool to organize protests in the Western country. We remember during Second Karabakh War. And in this democratic country, these voices are here. This is not Russia or Azerbaijan. So they can affect the political decisions in the United States, in France, and we see this every time. That's why I advise our Prime Minister not to speak about victims, how many victims we had during genocide. Yes. This is not acceptable.
Why we were in a way, the reason of genocide.
Yes.
Who was we haven't talked. We mustn't talk about these issues.
Yes, of course, because
it's a historical fact. Yes, we have to make tools to unite, keys, passwords to unite and work together. Thank you, Lilith, for this interesting interview. Our followers, it was a special interview with Lilith Dallakyan. We talked about the Ukraine war, possibilities of peace, and also about Armenian nation, Armenia as a state, and the dream to have a great modern society and country. Thank you for joining us, and please keep subscribing to Arevelk, and in that way we work together for a good and really a strong nation and country.